Well, thanks for joining us here on Nine's Wide World of Sports for our Queenslander segment, where we have a special finals edition, and we've also got a special guest, the King, Wally Lewis, and myself, Adam Jackson, joined by Salty, the voice of some of the finals upcoming. How excited are you about finals footy, Salty?
Oh, I'm really looking forward to it. Oh, sorry. Yeah. So I thought,
He's not Darren Lockett, he's Salty.
I had to play the role, I thought. Good luck to Darren as well, too, who's over buying London, I hear.
Yeah, I know.
Not the London Broncos, he's just buying the whole of London.
He's cashed up, big fella. Yeah.
It's a great time of the year, isn't it?
Yeah.
Best time of the year.
You're so busy, you're calling pretty much every second game, not just NRL, NRLW at the moment. The Broncos flying in that comp.
Yeah, they are. There's a local derby as well coming up.
My Cowboys.
Yes.
They'll make the finals too.
They will. Broncos Cowboys midday on Saturday when they take on Brisbane and Cowboys at Langlands Park, Totally Workwear Stadium. So get along, everyone.
And Pete, a lot of people sort of say that when you're in the media box, you don't get to be able to enjoy the game as much as they do. But I'm sure that you'd agree, we all agree, that it's absolutely fantastic to have the opportunity to be able to watch them from a different angle and to be able to enjoy the thrills and skills that the players put on display.
Oh, it's a lot of fun, isn't it? Well, I mean, it's the greatest game of all. I mean, we all love it and involved in the game in one way or another. And yeah, I've got to say that I've loved this season, both the NRL and NRLW, and there's one more round of NRLW before we hit the finals. That'll be a terrific final series, but can't wait for this NRL final series as well.
And that last game of the regular season at Suncorp Stadium, that first half Storm Broncos, to me that was as good as first half as we've seen.
Oh, yeah.
Who was next to you? Was it Cam Smith?
Yeah, Cam.
What's he like, or what are those two like when the Storm are in an arm wrestle?
I've got to say they were like Switzerland on Thursday night, and giving the Broncos credit, which I think everyone had to, because they were brilliant. What a way to go into the finals! Hey, Adam, everyone at Nine's professional.
That's it. Yeah.
I mean, actually that'll be tested because I think Paul Gallen's on the sideline for Roosters Sharks on. At Shark Park with about 30 people there on Saturday night.
Salty, I often say, though, that when you're in a commentary position and it's a necessity to be the man in the middle, you get to be able to probably appreciate both teams and the form that they display when they're out there. And I think you get a little bit more of an educated look at the way the opposition play. You know, we probably are fans of one side and we've all supported the Broncos at some stage, but whenever they're up against a quality opposition, you get to be able to see the real class aboard the opponents.
You're not wrong, Wally, and Reece Walsh individual effort on Thursday night stands out. There's been obviously on the Queenslander podcast, a few I'll focus on, even though there's a New South Welshman, just to watch Isaiah Katoa for the Dolphins through the year as well. You watch someone like Tom Dearden do what he does at the Cowboys as well. And then all the other games we get to watch. And that's why this week I can't wait to head along because I get to watch Sam Walker. There's different individuals that you just, when you're heading along to a game, that you just go, I can't wait to see him play. Yeah. Sammy has fast become one of those for me. He's one of my favourite players to watch in the comp.
Because you just can't predict what he's going to do, chip and chase or whatever, throw the long cutout pass. One person really excited the finals footy who came up to me on the Gold Coast on the weekend, Tom from Yeppoon. He's a big fan of Queenslander and a Broncos fan. I told him I'd give him a shout out. So Tom, there's your shout out.
Tommy.
Good luck to your Broncos this weekend too. So the only Queensland team in the NRL finals, the Broncos head down to the nation's capital on Sunday afternoon to face the Raiders. Well, what do you think? Does that hold any fears going down to Canberra for the Broncos?
I think the benefit that the Broncos do have, Adam, is that nobody has them as favourites to beat the boys that finished the season in front. I've got to say that I was actually amazed, very surprised with Canberra's performance throughout the class of throughout the season. And it's been very impressive. But certainly they're the ones that are under the pump this time around, and I think the coach will have a big smile on his face at the Bronx, and there'll certainly be a very impressive performance put forward.
And Canberra's lobbied hard, Salty, to have this on the Sunday afternoon. I think it could inadvertently backfire on them because if I'm the Raiders, I would have rather played the Broncos on a cold Canberra night on Saturday night than a sunny afternoon because that lends itself to Broncos footy.
It does, doesn't it? I mean, They're a terrific attacking side, no matter what the conditions are, Brisbane. But they'll come out this week, you got no doubt, and will look to throw the ball around. Reece Walsh, obviously we'll talk about him in more detail as we head throughout the podcast. But I'm with you. I thought that Saturday night in Canberra, I mean, it's going to be a great occasion anyway, as it is. But Saturday night in Canberra with a little bit of chill still in the air would have favoured the Raiders big time, Wal.
Oh, certainly. And if you had to play Canberra in Canberra, it was never comfortable. To be able to play them on a sunny afternoon was certainly the preferred option, other than having them in the frosty conditions. Although it's not that cool now, but when you're playing them at night time and you've got half the city turning up to make you feel a little bit uncomfortable with the conditions, that's not exactly what you want in finals football.
So that was one of the venues you hated at playing the most during your NRL career?
Yeah, I didn't get many chances to play there, and it was one that I felt very uncomfortable about. And there were always a couple of blokes, Mal and the like, that used to sit there and smile and just say, "You're not welcome here."
Yeah.
So I used to sort of take that saying almost as a way to try and inspire myself, but I don't think it ever worked once. So I didn't have too much enjoyment in Canberra.
And there was it was a preliminary final in 1990, and that's when Canberra went on to win their second competition in a row, Premiership in a row. Did you play in that game? Well, was it you had your broken arm, or was it broken in that game because that was leading into that 1990 Kangaroo tour?
Yeah, no, it was the game that I came back. We actually played that at the Sydney Football Stadium.
Oh, of course it would have been.
Yeah, of course. It was the big game. I can remember I was sitting there waiting to get on. I didn't get a chance until late in the game, and I basically got put on, and Canberra smashed us, absolutely thrashed us. And I thought that was a painful experience. The next day I got ruled out of the Kangaroo tour. So that was what made it even more uncomfortable. Nice of you to bring
that up. I know. Sorry. My one and only appearance here on Queenslander. That was a question coming in from Darren in London.
Well, the current crop of Broncos don't have too fond of memories. Early in the season, remember they had a big win in round 1 against the Roosters, and round 2, a bit of a reality check down against the Raiders, lost that 32-22, and their forwards were really dominated. We were there yesterday at their media day, and you could sense the forwards feel as though they have a bit of a point to prove, a bit of revenge there, Salty.
There's no doubt they do. And, all credit to what Brisbane's forwards have been doing in recent times. Probably, on this, was it 9 from 11 that they've won, or thereabouts heading into the finals. But Payne Haas, Corey Jensen, Pat Carrigan been getting a lot of accolades. For mine, from a Broncos forwards point of view, and I was talking to Payne actually about this, and not just those coming off the bench like Ben Tolty and Kobe Hetherington have been playing well, but I think the two back rowers, Brendan Piakura back in the team, and he had a really good game against Melbourne. And the other player is Jordan Ricky, who I think starting to hit some top form again. So all bodes well moving through these finals, Brisbane's forwards.
Yeah, and I think, Salty, when we see a couple of players that aren't showing their best form halfway through the season, they can't wait for final football to come around to demand their best performances. And certainly there's a couple of guys, I think, that will be producing their best.
I couldn't believe it was Piakura who scored that try in the corner. Like out on the wing, Reece Walsh throws that cutout pass, and someone said to me, Piakura's got it. I'm like, no, it wasn't here. And then you look back on your call there, Salty, it definitely was. But they've been killing it the last month or so. I think they're 4 from 4 now with that Ben Hunt, Billy Walters combination. What do you look at doing, when Adam Reynolds comes back? The talk is that Ezra Mam, barring a miracle, is done for the season, even though he's back training slightly at the moment. What do you do with the Adam Reynolds situation? Does he come straight back in? Or Billy Slater's mentioned maybe you have Adam Reynolds on the bench like a veteran quarterback in the NFL and bring him on to close the game?
That's probably not a bad idea. I think the coach will... he'll think about it for a long, long time and have many options available. And I think that the more he keeps it to himself and doesn't reveal what his plans are, the better. Opposition coaches like to be able to plan what's going to be taking place and certainly to how their defensive strategy is going to be. But if the attacking coach, in this case for the Broncos, manages just to hold it and let decisions be made, there'll be a lot of changes of mind certainly take place throughout the course of it. And I think the less you tell them, the better your chances are.
What do you do, Salty, if you're Michael Maguire?
I think you go with that suggestion, that, and you're right, it was Billy Slater who suggested it over the weekend. I think you can't afford to change now what Ben Hunt and Billy Walters are doing.
Yeah.
And if there is an injury, say to Corey Pakes, or if they need someone to shift somewhere, then you know Ben Hunt or Billy Walters can play a floating forward type role. Renault can come off the bench. He's got plenty of options there to cover anything should they arise. So, yeah, for mine, I don't go changing anything. They've just scored 30 points against a Craig Bellamy coach team.
So why do it? Yeah.
And I think Ben Hunt's unlocked the best out of Reece Walsh still. I was asking Reece Walsh why that gels so well together, and one of the things Walsh said was Ben Hunt talks so much, so in a way he doesn't have to talk as much and direct traffic. He can just go at the back and play footy, and like you said, Salty, then you do bring Reynolds on, and then Billy Walters can shift potentially, or whatever you want to do with that hooker rotation. But I think Billy Walters has been the unsung hero in this charge, especially defensively. He put a big hit on, I think, Trent Liero in that Storm game. So I think he's quite underrated in this whole context, Billy Walters.
Oh, he's a competitor, Adam. He really is, and I don't think he gets the credit that's due. He certainly has, had a wonderful education in how to play rugby league, in the family, and certainly has had the chance to play alongside a whole group of blokes now that he feels very comfortable to be alongside. And I think that when you've got that self-belief and it's got to a stage, a level that you feel very comfortable with, and your teammates feel comfortable to know that you are full of confidence, that will certainly increase the performances of the players throughout the course of the game.
A lot of people would be surprised how well he's done in the halves, but Salty, you and I commentated a lot of young Billy Walters for East Tigers in the Queensland Cup. He was actually a 6 growing up, and he actually got them to a grand final.
He certainly did. And a couple of things, Wally mentioned his competitiveness. It's always been there with Billy. And he's one that I don't think has ever been flushed with natural skills, but he has just continued to work so hard on his game, so hard on his fitness. I just wish him all the best every time he goes out on the field. I'm a huge fan of Billy Walters. I think he's been playing some tremendous football. And you're right, every role he's played this year, he's just been tremendous for his team.
Yeah. What about the link too with Ben Hunt, 10 years on from the 2015 grand final? Could you imagine if he leads the Broncos to a premiership 10 years on in their anniversary year?
Well, if you had said 10 years ago, this is what's going to be happening in a decade, he probably would have laughed it off. But he's got there. I think the ball is in his court. He's going to feel extremely comfortable about it, and the less pressure on his shoulders, the better. But I don't think that he would be affected by it whatsoever. He'll feel quite comfortable in being asked to achieve something on the field that he knows he's very capable of.
What about the last time he played finals? Penrith's last premiership was in 2003. We hadn't heard of COVID. And I'm trying to think of one other one that comes to mind. But anyway, I think it sums up. We hadn't heard of COVID.
Yeah.
It's his first finals match this week since 2018.
Yes, 7 years. His first year would have been at the Dragons. His first year, I think. Yeah. So. Quite a long drought for him. Let's focus a bit on the opposition. Quite a few Queenslanders in this Raiders side. So if the Broncos do bomb out, maybe they're the team that the Queenslanders jump on the bandwagon. So we've got Big Red, Corey Horsburgh, Jamal Fogarty. Salty and I are massive fans of Jamal Fogarty.
Yep.
And Josh Papali'i, under an injury cloud. We've seen him on the 9 News Vision in that moon boot at training. If he's out, guys, how big a loss is that for Canberra? He's their heart and soul.
Massive. He inspires everyone on his team. He probably inspires the opposition as well, they'll have the understanding that unless they completely control him and are quite capable of going up and stop some of those wonderful charges, they're in for a long day at the office. But what he does for his teammates is something quite extraordinary, and he's gone ahead in leaps and bounds, and you know, there have been plenty of people that suggested he's been the player of the year. Well, you wouldn't get too much of an argument from any rugby league fan the way he's been able to do it. And he just doesn't inspire the players, he inspires the coach. And Ricky Stewart has said on a number of occasions, it's made my job a lot easier to get those players to perform at a 100% level.
Yeah.
You know what? He'll play.
Yeah.
He'll play. He'll come. It'll be the big thing. I'm not denying Ricky is playing games. I don't think he's playing games. Ricky's a big fan of the Queenslander podcast. Ricky, send us a message. Let us know what you're doing. But I think unless there's a break there or something worse than we know about it, if he's rolled it, in a few days' time it'll get better. And I'm pretty sure Josh Papali'i's got a high pain threshold. So he'll come out, I'm sure.
And I think, Salty, we'd see it that if the Raiders were in control, say at about the halfway mark of the game, there'd be a decision made that maybe it's best to give him a little bit of a rest. Don't put him up for further injury. So there'll be a common sense approach to that.
There is another Queenslander too in that Raiders team, Owen Paddy.
Oh yeah.
Coming off the bench, hasn't he been terrific this year as well? So he's one that I think. Canberra, the way that he plays, and given the way that Brisbane will want to open the game up, he could play a big role for the Raiders on Sunday afternoon.
Bit of an X factor, yeah. And we could have had Xavier Savage too, but unfortunately he's out injured, the boy from up in Cairns. Another Canberra player who's been killing it, they're number 6. Ethan Strange, only a 21-year-old, big raps on him. Well, you know a thing or two about number 6s. You like what you see from him?
Oh, I like this kid. He's got a big future. And I don't mean to put too much pressure on him, but everything about him is timing. He certainly has plenty of it. He's got the ability to make very sensible decisions and certainly not get in a panic mode. And I think that having a coach that played in the halves, it mightn't have, 7 and 6 often play very similar roles. I think that's been an enormous benefit to him. And he seems to be making the most of it, but the thing that he has that's not all that common in the younger players is time. He doesn't panic, and certainly takes a lot of time to make up his mind. And when he does come up with that decision, 9 times out of 10, it's the correct one to make.
Yeah. And he's quite strong too for a little fella, Salty.
Yeah. I think he's all class. I wouldn't be surprised if the Raiders have a really good final series. I wouldn't be surprised if Kevy takes him on the tour. Because he can cover a few positions there. He may not get a test match because it's back-to-back tests. But I know how big a fan Kevy is of Strange. So I wouldn't be surprised. What I've noticed, on that tour.
No, sorry, Solly. What I've noticed about him as well is he's been his balls transfer to use his hands. He does it extremely well. If he's certainly getting the ball from the left-hand side, his ability to be able to change hands really quick, stick it back in the left, use the right hand for a fend, and he gives himself a lot of time and space to be able to make that option, make that decision on, am I going to let the ball go or try and get rid of the defender first?
And for the Broncos, we're hearing too there'll be a team change in that back line. Gemmet Shibasaki, so he was, I don't know what you call it, stood down, dropped, axed last week for that one game for turning up with a bit of alcohol in his system.
Rested.
Imagine if that policy was in place when you were playing. Well, players coming from the Leagues Club, alcohol in their system, but it is a different era.
Teammates.
Quite a different era.
You've been to the pub with them.
How tricky would that decision have been for Madge? So we're hearing he'll come back in the team, but do you risk disrupting the side further because Dean Mariner was excellent, Jesse Arthurs was really good, or 1 week's enough, to prove a point?
Yeah, I think it is. And, he's also, he's dangled the carrot, the penalty's been given, and now you've got the player that wants to come back and prove something to the coach. So I think the ball's in the coach's court.
Yeah, this should be player-driven as well too, I'd say as well. But I think you're right, as far as the coach is concerned. And the standards have been set as well have been player-driven at the Broncos. So I'd say the leadership group would have got together with Madge to come up to bring him back into the team. But I've got to give Dean Mariner a rap, though, for what he did against Melbourne. And Jesse Arthur's up against Xavier Coates. One of the hardest tasks in the NRL is to mark Xavier. He did well.
They did a really good job shutting down Coates, even though it wasn't quite legal at times with some of those block runners going through. But Tony Staggs and co and that were doing their best. People forget Jesse Arthurs broke his ribs and was out for 6 weeks. So he was almost a permanent fixture in that team. He was one of the leading try scorers at the start of the season, and then he got injured. So you talk about hard luck stories with Shibasaki. Jesse Arthurs is another one there. And what else?
That's a big gutsy thing to come back. You know, when you bust your ribs, I think there wouldn't be a player in the game that's suffered that injury that's volunteered to go back a week earlier rather than a week later. That's a safety issue, and I've seen plenty of guys that have had rib injuries prior to that, and they always seem to be uncomfortable in carting the ball up because they know that whilst they're watching the ball, the plan for the defender on the outside is to come in, target the ribs, and almost try and give you another 3 or 4 weeks rest on the sideline. So there'll need to be a little bit of confidence on board to be able to make a return comfortably.
Doesn't have too much padding around his ribs either, Jesse Arthur. He's probably the skinniest Bronco out there. He'd go good in the skin fold test. And speaking of the Broncos too, we're hearing that Corey Jensen is going to sign a 1-year contract extension. So surprisingly, he was off contract at season's end. So he's been quite good in that middle forward rotation with Payne Huss and Pat Carrigan. So congratulations to Corey Jensen, another unsung hero.
Yeah, I agree with that, Adam. And I don't think he's received a lot of reward. Too many pats on the back. He's been very quiet with it, but he does the job that's asked of him from the coach.
Yeah. He does. And by the way, that game last week against Melbourne, 13 times he's played Melbourne now. That's his first win against the Storm. For going both Cowboys and the Broncos, and that goes back to include the 2017 Grand Final, which he was a part of. I'm a big fan of Corey Jensen. He played so well in the then Intrust Super Cup, the Host Plus Cup in Queensland as well. Big fan of his. I'm sorry to see Kobe Hetherington look like he might be leaving. I'm president of Kobe's fan club, but good luck to him though if he's able to get a long-term deal. Because don't forget, Brisbane have still got Xavier Willison, who'll come back into the team. Ben Takura as well. So, but Kobe, he'll be missed at Red Hill. If he does end up going to Manly, which all indications are that he will.
Yeah, it sounds like they have a Queensland quota down at Manly, so DCE's gone. They need another Queenslander. So Kobe Hetherington can join Ethan Bullimore, another Queenslander who's killing it down there for the Seagulls. Just finally on the Broncos, we'll talk a bit more about Reece Walsh, but on the Broncos, can they win the Premiership? I'll admit, before last Thursday, I didn't think they could win the Premiership, but beating Melbourne in such emphatic fashion, I now look at them and go, yeah, they're the real deal.
Yeah, I was the same as you, Adam. As you know, I'm a bit of a Melbourne Storm fan, and the only teams that beat Melbourne Storm are the top teams, the ones that are quite capable of furthering their challenges and achievements throughout the course of a season. That was something else, and certainly for the confidence department, that's worth its weight in gold.
My thoughts are, I don't want to jump the gun. Aren't we doing the tab big calls this week? Are we doing the tab big calls this week?
It wasn't on the run sheet. Yeah, I know.
Well, I think Sunday's game is a precursor to the grand final.
Yeah, okay. Yep.
Well, I think this is the grand final. I say that with caution because I think that the winner of Sharks Roosters can go on a run. I also think that Penrith will be hard to beat. That's why I think this game is such an important one to win, because it gets you into that preliminary final.
And the week off.
And a week off. Yeah. Then you're back at home ahead of a grand final qualifier. But I've just got a feeling these two teams can play in the grand final.
Still no one's talking about Canberra.
Yeah, that's it. Surprisingly, they never faced off in a grand final. They were the dominant teams of the 90s, but they always missed each other.
The 1 year where I think we all thought it was going to happen was 1993, but that's a year that when Canberra were beating Parramatta quite easily in the last 2 or 3 weeks of the competition, and Ricky Stewart ruptured his Achilles.
Yeah, okay.
And they ended up playing in the finals. Brisbane actually lost to St George in the last round at ANZ Stadium. There were 55,000 there and ended up finishing 4th or 5th. So they had to go the long way in the old top 5. Canberra were well set up. They were in the top 3. And Brisbane played Canberra in either week 1 or 2 of the finals. They went Manly, Canberra, then played Canterbury, and then played St George again in the grand final. But I think that was the year that we were closest to seeing a Brisbane-Canberra grand final. But if not for that serious injury to Ricky Stewart late in the season.
Yeah, could get there now in 2025. You touched on the other games there, Salty. Friday night it all kicks off, the Storm against the Bulldogs. Boys, what do you think about that? A decimated Melbourne Storm side, no Jerome Hughes, that's a huge loss. Pappenhausen with that HIA, and Big Nelson too is suspended.
You know, I'm a chronic Melbourne Storm fan, and I've been confident in virtually every one of the games that they play, but this one, I'm just not sure.
Yeah.
Injuries have played a terrible part in their approach. I'd prefer not to say the opposition. Yeah, I think they are. But in saying that, Melbourne have always been quite capable of producing shock wins, wonderful performances, upsets that have got over the top of quality oppositions. But they're going to have to be at their best to win this one.
Yeah.
I think there's a big concern over the Bulldogs as well going into this game. Not so much what's happening in the halves, how they're going to use Reid Marnie, how they'll go defensively out wide. There's one bloke, though, in that Storm side that, and I'll tip Melbourne on Friday night, but there's one bloke in that Storm side coming back this week, and it's not Harry Grant, because I think Harry speaks for himself, but Stefano Utoikamanu didn't play last Thursday night against Brisbane, and he'll come back into the team this week. Question mark over Sean Bloor. He's had a throat injury. And they're missing him as well. But Stefano, I think, can come in, and I'm a huge fan of Jonah Pezzett. Mate, he won the East Tigers a grand final.
Yeah, I know. Your team
he got the Tigers a grand final.
2 years ago,
Immortal status already for Jonah Pezzett, in my opinion. But he's no Jerome Hughes, but he'll get the job done. The other player too, by the way, is Suafar Longo's fit.
Yeah, he was supposed to play in the Q Cup finals, but was pulled last minute, which could be an indication that.
Well, that's a real indication.
Yeah.
So if he plays, he'll no doubt be named in the squad. But if he plays at fullback, look out, because he's electrifying.
Yeah, he's dynamite on the comeback trail from a bad hamstring injury suffered mid-season. Before we wrap it up on the Broncos and get to the other Queensland teams who unfortunately won't play in the finals this year, Reece Walsh, after all the talk last week, his social media plumbing stunt, he had an absolute blinder. How good was his game, Wal?
Yeah, it was fantastic. I think he probably felt that he also had to produce a wonderful performance to get back on side after being in a little bit of trouble.
Yeah.
But he's one of those guys that I think the more criticism that comes his way, the better performances he produces. I've sort of looked at him a few times and thought, can he really? Is he capable of? Well, I've had egg all over the face on a number of occasions, and certainly he does appear to have plenty of self-belief. He's never going to be short of that, but whilst he has that and is quite prepared to produce it on the field, that will inspire teammates and has done so with almost monotonous regularity.
Yeah, this could be the making of him this final series, Salty.
I think it will be. He's a player that a lot of people, beyond all of what you see on your TikToks and all that sort of stuff, the sort of stuff you watch all the time, TikTok and all that. Beyond all of that, there's a really sharp footy mind there, and you would have seen it, Wally, over the years with teammates of yours who, they might carry on a little bit and have that big personality off the field, but deep down, they had great respect in what they were doing on the footy field. You look at someone like and studied the game so well. You look at someone like an Alfie, Peter Jackson.
Yeah.
These sort of guys, larger than life characters, But boy, when it came to the footy, they knew exactly what they were doing, and they followed and studied the game so well.
Yeah, it's a good point, Pete. And they didn't get to where they are through flukes or inopportune moments that were just provided for them. He's got that about him where he's quite capable of producing things in a game that very few people are blessed with that skill. And when he gets the chance to be able to do it, I think that we're about to become even more excited than previous performances. It will be called upon by coach and all of his teammates.
Mm. Do you think he has the potential and the talent to be the next generational talent in the NRL? He's probably the most popular player with fans at the moment, but to do that, he needs to probably be a bit more consistent.
Well, yeah, he probably will, but I think he's also got a little bit of assistance there from the coach.
Yeah.
The coach knows how to raise his voice once or twice and knows how to make him feel a little bit responsible and guilty at different times, and that can happen. It happened to me at different stages where I can remember one of the coaches came up to me and he said, "Mate, you've got a little bit too much lair in you. What about that you get out there and you try and produce some real form?" And I found it to be the best bit of criticism that I ever had. And I said, "What, is it that much?" And he said, "Well, you've got plenty of lair in you. You've got too much lair in you." And it was at a time in my career where I reckon it was just about the halfway mark. And I thought, well, now's the time to be able to produce that, put the skill into play.
Yeah. And speaking of your career, Walter, I do believe you did play one game at fullback back in the day, in the BRL days for Valley. So tell us about that.
Yes. I was basically shot back to fullback by Coach Ross Strudwick, who used to do some very strange things at different times to different players. And it was a mistake I made and turned up to training late. And he said, "Anyway, you threw so many bad passes last weekend, so this is just adding to it. You're going to go and play fullback." And I got the chance to do it, and without filling my own pocket up, I was very happy with the game I played. And the coach, when I came off, he just said, "You're the ultimate mug lair. You are the ultimate mug lair." And I got to see what it was to play fullback. I didn't really enjoy the position all that much, and could understand the pressure that was upon them. But it was one of those games that I'm glad I had the opportunity, but I'm damn sure I was never ever going to play there ever again.
How'd you go catching the bombs?
Yeah, well, that was a little bit. I managed to get through that. As one of the wingers said, "Why did you keep calling yours?" I said, "Well, the ball did look like it was going your way, so it was yours." And I got out of jail that way. It was a good escape.
Nice.
I think Ross called it the coward's call.
Yeah.
I'd hand up.
Nice. Well, unfortunately, we've got three of our teams in Queensland on Mad Monday, or rather recovering from Mad Monday at the moment. So let's go through and do a small review of the Cowboys, Titans and Dolphins, Salty. So we'll give them a grade from A to F, maybe talk about what needs to change and their chances of making the finals next year. Kick off with my Cowboys. I'm going to give them a C-. They finished 12th with 9 wins, a draw and 14 losses. What do you guys think?
I'm giving them a D.
Yeah.
Because that squad should play finals.
Yeah, okay.
And Tom Dearden, Scott Drinkwater, so much, they rely on them so much. I think that Reid Marnie's going to go there next year with a point to prove. So I'll have them back up in the top 8 next year. Only because they're getting the worst grade out of the 3 for me because of the
talent at their disposal.
Because of the talent that they've got.
Yeah, that's exactly right. You hit the nail on the head there. I went for a C, and I'm a chronic Cowboys fan. I love watching them play. Love going to Townsville to watch them and see how they excite the North Queensland fans.
Yep.
It's been great to watch. I thought Tommy Dearden, he should have been on triple time and a half.
Yeah.
It was difficult circumstances for him to work, and on many occasions I admired watching the broadcast of a Cowboys game and watching what Tom did. They do need to be much more dominant in the forwards and controlling in the forwards, whilst their backs are very capable of being able to attack and attack well. So a disappointing season for them, but one I'm sure that they've got things in mind for next season, but I'm I think their talent roster has to be improved a little bit.
Yeah, they also beat Canberra this season too and won defeat in their 2 games against Panthers. So they'll be really ruining the missed opportunity watching the finals. As a Cowboys supporter, what makes me excited next season is we've got some continuity in the halves. So they've re-signed Jake Clifford. So we know Jake Clifford and Tom Dearden have definitely been the halves. They chopped and changed at the early and midpoint of the season. Also, we get Helam Lukey back from that ACL. Cohen Hess was suspended for a large part of the back end of the season. Sam McIntyre was quite good too before he was injured. And as Salty mentioned, Reed Marnie, I really like what he'll do at the Cowboys, being a Queenslander, coming home. Really disappointing the way things have turned out at the Bulldogs for him, and he'll have a point to prove. So let's move along to the Titans. I'm going to give them an E. They finished second last, 16th. Congratulations to Kieran Foran too. What a wonderful way to send out a legend of our game with that last-minute victory over the Tigers. So 16th with 6 wins, 18 losses. Now, the stat that stands out for me are the Titans. They conceded more points than any other team in the comp, an average of 30 points per game.
Yeah, it's very easy for me to be critical. I had some time down there as coach and as a player that weren't successful. But to put that in, I agree with you. It was a D. Des Hasler, I just have trouble understanding what it was that went wrong. He's coached at 2 teams to grand finals before. He's won premierships, and you expect that Des would be quite capable of getting the best out of this side. That wasn't the case, and it was another very uncomfortable season on the Gold Coast.
It was, and there's people involved in that organisation, and I think Gold Coast Rugby League as well. They deserve to have the Titans strong, and it just didn't work out with Des, did it? And I wish Josh Hannay all the best next year. They've got some great people at that club. I'm biased with Josh Hannay, and I'm biased with Scott Sattler. I think they're both terrific blokes who are going to, along with Steve Mitchell, turn the ship around. I'll give them a D+ because they kept trying in that back end of the season, and they've got some good young players there as well. Keanu Kinney will be back next year. Yes, he played the last couple of games, but he'll be back to his best next year. Jaden Campbell as well, but I think Josh Hannay can be the one to get them going next year. So I think signs are on the up for the Titans. And
I think Scotty Sattler's value is going to be there as well. He's been there as a player. He knows exactly what he's got to do as a man in charge. It'll be interesting.
They'll be good at cover defending tackles anyway.
Yeah, that's it.
Have you heard him? If you spend 5 minutes with Sats, you'll hear about that tackle about 20 times.
Yeah. And Cooper Bye too. He was an eye-catching performance in his debut there. Marcus Bye's son, completely different player, big, tall middle forward. Scored that try, which unfortunately got called back. And the Dolphins, the big heartbreak story here in Queensland, just 1 win short of qualifying for the finals for the first time. I'm going to give them a B. They finished 9th, 12 wins, 12 losses. So that's their most successful season since entering the NRL. Their most ever wins in a season. So good work by Christian Wolf replacing Wayne Bennett there. The stat that stands out for me, they scored the most points in the comp this season. More points than any other team. Yeah, it really stands out. But 2 losses to the Knights, who finished with the wooden spoon, ultimately cost them a place in the finals.
How does that happen?
Yeah. That's the big anomaly with the Dolphins.
And particularly the way they were able to score points.
Yeah.
In attack, it was very creative, absolutely smashing some of the best defensive lines that they came up against, yet they ended up not getting the job done as well as possible.
Against the worst attacking team in the competition, the best attacking team in the league couldn't beat them. But I guess that proves defence wins premierships.
It does, but a couple of things. The first one, the game in Newcastle was round 2 when Kalen was still there for the Knights, and it was in that period where the Dolphins were just all over the place.
Cyclone Alfred,
yeah. Cyclone Alfred. They went 0-4 at the start of the season. There's a game that I think will give the Dolphins fans nightmares, and that's that game against the Warriors at Suncorp Stadium, where the Warriors not only won, but they won when the Dolphins should have got a penalty off the try that was scored by the Warriors. And I think we said at the time that game is going to come back to bite the Dolphins, and it did. no Daniel Saifidi, no Max Plath, no Tom Gilbert, no Tom Flegler, no Herbie Farnworth for the last month of the season. They'll go all right next year, the Dolphins, because they've got these other young guys, the All Blacks Taufas of the world, that have got matches under their belt now ahead of time.
Yep.
And I think that they can not only push for the top 8, but probably even go beyond that next year.
They had a horrific injury run, and it was like they'd come up with every bad luck plan in the business, and it was. It'll be good to see how they go. They won't be short of determination next season, that's for sure.
That Warriors game is the 1-2 and Tom Gilbert gets injured too, so that was a big double blow. So what grade are you giving them a B to?
A B,
Wal?
yep.
And what were you?
I'm giving him a B plus actually. I'm giving him a B plus because I've been really impressed with their attitude throughout the year. And Christian Wolf and all the coaching staff, I think, well done to them.
So we can add pluses to it, can we? I never got into those when I was at school doing my exams.
Hey, well, it's how I relied on passing.
C's, and
C minus is a pass.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's all you needed.
That's it.
Remember, kids, just get a C. That's all you need. Do enough.
So the Feast of Footy continues here on the Wide World of Sports too. Reminder on the 9 Now app, on Saturday and Sunday you get to see the Queensland Cup finals. So we've had the first week was last week. Unfortunately, the Falcons and the PNG Hunters are eliminated. The Burleigh Bears and Norths Devils have progressed to the prelim finals. So the games you'll see 2 p.m. Saturday is the Townsville Blackhawks against the Redcliffe Dolphins, and then 2 p.m. Sunday afternoon at Qlder Oval it will be going off at the Chook Pen. Winner Manly against the Ipswich Jets. The Ipswich Jets in the finals for the first time in 7 years. So how about the Jets final, Salty? So they're up 24-0 after 24 minutes against the Sunny Coast. Sunny Coast score a late try, 24-all, goes to Golden Point. They kick a field goal. How good's finals footy?
Love it. Absolutely love it. It's fantastic. Just on that Blackhawks game. And well done to the Jets, to Steve Johnson and the Ingebrigtsens, and terrific stuff. Great organisation, the Jets. Actually, they all are, all the clubs, but are you working on the Blackhawks game?
Oh, yeah. I'll try not to be too biased. That's at the old Townsville Brothers ground when I was at my junior club.
Yeah.
Well, people accuse me of being too biased towards the Dolphins, so they're playing the Redcliffe Dolphins up against the Townsville Blackhawks. So it's a non-biased draw for me in that one. But make sure you tune in to Nine's Wide World of Sports. The finals kick off Friday night, blockbuster Storm against the Bulldogs, and it all ends Sunday afternoon. Queensland's last remaining hope, the Broncos, up against the Raiders. Thanks for your time. We'll be back next week on Queenslander.